YouTube family. It is Juniper Mystique. I am an Ascension Master, a Master Healer, and a Divine Guide. I am not your normal video you're going to see on who killed who and what happened to who. My job is to help release these from the collective soul. And I'm super excited today because I'm bringing through somebody very special. They're all special to me, but this person, as you can see right over here, Brittany Murphy. What happened to Brittany Murphy? This was the picture she actually wanted me to depict because she's going to be telling a story today. Okay. And that's what she's saying. She finally gets her story to be heard and she's super excited about it. Okay. Now, when I channel these, I do write them down sometimes too. So you might see me looking at that. I also call on her. I call on the creator of all that is and any angels also that wish to accompany us on this journey. I ask for the highest light in only and the highest light out only. And again, the purpose of this is to set these souls free, to cleanse the energy, to allow karma to take its place. And so that's what I do. Whatever comes of these, I put in the hands of the creator and the lovely ones coming through for all of you. Okay. So I have called her forth. She's been with me off and on for about a week now since I first channeled her through. And she comes in quite strong. She is definitely an actress. She is definitely filled with drama and filled with life to this day. Okay, now everybody knows Brittany Murphy is long gone. She passed away many moons ago. Matter of fact, I don't even know what year it was. I did not even look that up. I didn't look any of her stuff up. I just know she was one of my favorite actresses and she died many years ago. And I was totally shocked when she died. And from the moment she died, it didn't feel right to me, but I've never done these until my awakening and stuff. So I'm really excited to embark upon this journey with her today. If she was alive, I keep saying to myself, she would be my best friend. Like, she is super awesome. Her energy is awesome. And she's quite comical too. She's a little ornery. She was a little ornery and she was quite a prankster. Okay. So I do call her forth to tell me anything she wants to tell you guys and in hopes to help clear the air on the stuff that has happened to her. Okay. And right away, she's like, Hollywood is corrupt. And I'm like, yes, this we know. You've told me this. And she did tell me this the first time. Hollywood is corrupt. And so she is elaborating that. She is justifying that notion that most of the collective is already quite aware of. But she is like, more than you guys know, Hollywood is corrupt. It is a very dirty business. It is very corrupt. And either you conform or you're in trouble. Okay. And that's exactly what she is talking about today. And that's the first thing I have written down is Hollywood is corrupt. Okay. Now bear with me. There was some things in here I wasn't shocked about. And then there was other things in here I'm like, what? Like what? Where did that name come from? So I will give you what was given to me. I'm not holding anything back. I am getting this directly from her. She is obviously on the other side. She's very beautiful. She's very poised. She was a force to be reckoned with, okay? She was definitely a force to be reckoned with. So she's showing me when she was a little girl. When she was a little girl, she loved to play dress up. She loved to dance around the house. She was very much so on stage from the time she was born. This was in her. This was already in her. And her mother just took that and ran with it. And we'll get into her a little bit more. But as far as Brittany goes, she was very, very vibrant. She was very boisterous. She loved the boys. She loved being a boy. Yet she was also very girly at the same time. I'm like, this makes sense. I was the same way. So she was very much so into being tough and rough and stuff, but loved her makeup, loved her frilly. She could play sports in the most beautiful dress. Okay. And that's what Brittany is showing me that she was. That is who she wants me to express her as. And this was her from the time she was a little girl. Like, she knew she was going to be something big. She knew from the time she was born. And she's also showing me her chart. So that I don't do astrology, but she's showing me something in her chart right now that is very much so important to take note of. It's like she was meant to leave a mark. And in some ways, and I'm getting chills, that mark got snuffed out. Okay, so she was supposed to leave a mark. She was supposed to be a star. It was in her charts. These things were actually mapped out for her to do. which also plays into why she was snuffed out. Okay, she was absolutely murdered, and I can't reiterate that a fact enough. She's already on that. She's like, yeah, they took my life. I feel like she was actually slowly murdered in essence, and I'll get into that a little bit more too. Okay, as we go along. She did not accidentally die. She's letting you all know that. She kind of knew weeks before it was coming. She kept trying to say something. She didn't know who to talk to because Hollywood's corrupt, right? That's what she keeps talking about. And then the funny thing is she comes into my energy and she's like, 3. I'm like, yeah, Brittany, nice to meet you. And she's like, where's my diary? I'm like, aren't you supposed to tell me these things? Like, how am I going to know where your diary is? And she's like, you're silly girl. This is Brittany. This is her talking to me on the other side. And I'm like, well, thank you. You're silly too. And she's like, no, seriously, my diary's missing. And that's a key piece of evidence. And I said, okay. And that's when she dropped a name to me. Okay. And she did drop a name kind of pointing to that's where her diary might be. But I'll get into that a little bit more. Okay. So she is comparing her death to that of Marilyn Monroe. Her life and her death to that of Marilyn Monroe. She says it was very similar. There were very key players involved in both deaths. Okay, that is what she is telling me right now. I wrote down Marilyn Monroe and put similar death, but she's filling in a little bit more of the blanks as we go. Okay, because she is with me. I can feel her, I can see her, I can smell her. It's kind of like petunias. She smells a little bit like violet and petunias. And does violet have a smell? Yeah, it does. It kind of smells like lilac-y and petunias and kind of like a rose smell. Very beautiful smell, very beautiful essence. And that's how she's coming forward. Okay. She also tells me that her mother was very, very jealous of her. From the time she was a little girl, her mother was very jealous of her because Brittany would command a room. She would take all the attention from her mother's boyfriends, from whatever the case may be. Her mother also liked to drink and liked to party and do things like that too. So Brittany was kind of her key into a lot of places. Okay. And that takes a big aspect into what happened to Brittany. All right. She wanted this picture, by the way. This is the one. I was looking at all of them. She's like a model on there. She's got so many pretty ones. And she's like, this is the one. This is going to tell my story. There is blood on somebody's hands. That's what she says. Okay. She was murdered. She was not accidentally snuffed out. It was methodically planned. It was staged. And it was actually a slow process. So it didn't just happen in one day. And her body was actually slowly breaking down from this. Okay. So she actually shows me the final moments was she was sitting up in bed and she trusted her husband and he was giving her the pills. He was giving her the water and the pills to help her make her feel better from this pneumonia she had developed. She was not doing well. It's almost kind of like a flu. Little did she know she was slowly being poisoned. Okay, that is what happened to her. Lots of pills were involved, she says. Okay, her husband got her into dirty sex, is what she calls it, and drugs. Okay, her husband got her into these things. This is what her husband at the time had introduced her to. He was kind of a key player in all of this. He was very much so into the dirty side, right? Dark energies, dirty player, dirty sex. She calls it dirty sex and drugs. That's what he got her into. Okay. But she had a feeling weeks before that this was coming. She knew something was wrong. She always never felt comfortable as it was. She's saying being around her mom. So it wasn't so much her husband she was uncomfortable around, it was her mom. And the husband was kind of like an oddball out, and she knew this, but she kind of looked at him like a father figure. He kind of played that role for her. And that's kind of how he got her. Like, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to guide you. Tried to be like her manager, she calls it. And he was not doing that. He was actually causing her harm. Okay. And so he is the one who drugged her. But here's the thing. It was not just him, and it was not just on him. Okay. So it was kind of a thing where she says you need to look into her insurance policy beneficiary, which at first was her husband, and then it was her mom. Okay, her husband, I do believe, has also passed away, and I believe he went in a similar manner. So after Brittany Murphy was snuffed out, okay, it was the plan to snuff her out because she was getting too big. She was starting to speak. She was starting to complain. She was starting to be defiant to what she is calling corrupt Hollywood. And she says, This is Brittany. She says, what a tangled web we weave. That's what she told me. She was like, where is my journal? And she goes, oh, what a tangled web we weave. And she has this little, and I get chills as I do that. That's her attitude. She says, where is my journal? And oh, what a tangled web we weave. Okay. Her journal is still in existence. And so this is what happened. Her mother is a key player in all of this. Okay. Her mother was very jealous. Her mother used Brittany. Her mother wanted that lifestyle, and Brittany was her key to everything. So she was living vicariously through Brittany. But the bigger Brittany got, the more smaller her mother felt. And she was constantly like flirting with her husband and stuff. And after Brittany was snuffed out, her mom slept with her husband. And that is what she's showing me. They did get close. They did get very close. They did have a sexual relationship. And the husband was starting to feel guilt because he did love Brittany in his twisted mind in there somewhere. And if he was completely sober and in his right mind at any given time, rather than being manipulated and drugged out all the time, in essence, he loved her and wouldn't have wanted to kill her. But he was an easy target. He was a dirty soul. He liked playing the dirty. He liked that kind of stuff. Again, he's the one who brought in the dirty sex and all the drugs. And so the mother used that for her benefit. And it was discussed between the mother and the husband. It was pushed by the mother to the husband, do this, do this, do this. It's going to help us. It's going to help us. It was like empty promises of this is the way things are going to go. We'll be left alone if we do this. Let's just do this. Because Brittany was she was a firecracker. She didn't like to conform. And this is what she was telling me. She started struggling in Hollywood. She didn't like to conform. She didn't like the players that were becoming involved with her decision making in these things. They were trying to take that from her. And kind of like what happened to Brittany, right? The other Brittany. How that's what she's showing me, how they wouldn't let her think for herself. They wouldn't let her talk for herself. And this is what they were trying to do to Miss Murphy. Okay, so not Britney Spears had a similar lifestyle to that. She's saying is like in this space, in this energetic portal, in this area they were in, including the house, all of these things were like in this negative area space. And you know, it's the same thing they do throughout Hollywood. You're either going to do what I say, you're going to think the way I tell you to think, you're going to act the way I tell you to act, or we're going to take you out. And she didn't want either of those. She was trying to look for a way to express what was happening to her. And I think because of that, it was more like, if we don't do this, she could take everything we've got. Kind of a scenario. The mother was the key thinker in this. Very jealous, lived vicariously through Brittany. Okay, this is what Brittany's telling me. And from the time she was a little girl, she saw this in her mother. And she couldn't quite compute this. Why can't you just love me kind of a thing? Which I understand that, I do. I had a similar experience. I just wasn't as awesome as Brittany Murphy, right? She's laughing. She's like, why? Just because I had Hollywood? Hollywood is quite corrupt. That's what she keeps saying. And she keeps going, what a tangled web we weave. And so that's what I see. It's like these dirty little fingers stretched all throughout Hollywood. That's what Brittany says. It's what a tangled web we weave. Okay. Because it was the husband, it was the mother, and here's the name that they gave me. Okay. These two were not surprising to me. And yes, they did have a sexual relationship. And then, yes, I feel like the mother also killed the husband. But there was somebody else involved. Okay, and this somebody else is who they're pointing to. So here's the thing. Okay, Brittany was like, yeah, my mom, my husband. She goes, but this other person. And I'm like, this other person? Who the hell does this person have anything to do with it? And I said, does he have to do with it? What something does he have to do with it? And she said, not something to do with it, but everything to do with it. Okay. So this key person, I'm about to give you his name. He's a major player, and I've never heard his name dropped before in any of these convos or any of these like Corey Feldman type videos or anything like that. But he's a key person in this. She said he's not something to do with her murder, but everything to do with it. And it's Ted Nugent. Okay. And she's like adamant about that name, Ted Nugent. Okay. And he doesn't have something to do with it, but everything to do with it. And I believe a key player in where her journal is, because that was when she's like, where's my journal? And I'm like, you tell me, I don't know where your journal is. You're supposed to be telling me these things. Like, why are you asking me? I'm a little confused. And she started laughing and she goes, no, I know where it is. She goes, but that's the question everybody should be asking because the answers are all in her journal. And I believe Ted Nugent knows where her journal is, and so does her mother. Okay. And again, he doesn't have something to do with it, but everything to do with it, even though it wasn't his hands that killed her. But it was his push. It was his fear created. He's a large player apparently in this large conglomerate of what a tangled web we weave throughout Hollywood, and something to do about Marilyn Monroe type situation. Okay. And then the home that she was in is an energy vortex, kind of like with the Illuminati, kind of like with Ted Nugent. Okay, it all plays a role. There's like this energetic vortex throughout Hollywood, and either you comply or you could die. Okay, and this has happened many times over. Okay, and there's a lot of them in the end where they'll fight for their lives, and in the end they're taken out because of it. All right. And she went on to say it was like a $10 million life insurance policy. It was something huge. Okay. And then there's answers in the journal, and that points to Ted Nugent. Mom and Ted Nugent and husband. So I feel like the husband wasn't the brains. He was just a weak soul. Okay. Who out of fear decided he would take somebody he loved, basically, is what happened to him. And then he was snuffed out as well. But he also did sleep with the mom. And I think so did Ted Nugent. She was definitely drugged more than one occasion. Okay. This was like a slow, methodical death. And what a way to make it look accidental. And then again, it says, oh, what a tangled web we weaved. Pneumonia with question marks. I think she did have some form of illness going on, like pneumonia. But this was because of what was happening to her. Okay. And she wasn't able to fight for her life. It was like constantly keeping her drugged up in some way, shape, or form. And then she did show me the last moment she was alive as she sat up in bed, taking what he gave her to feel better. So it was like the husband was giving her a glass of water and a pill, and she thought it was to help her feel better. And that's the last straw. That's what killed her. Okay. Slept with mom. Husband was corrupt, slept with mom after her death. And then he ended up dying too, because he started to grow a consciousness, which he had a conscience in there. He wasn't completely corrupt, but he was pretty dark. So it does say guilt was overcoming him. Okay. And I think that's why they're like, All right. And so I do believe the final beneficiary on the insurance policy was the mother. I do believe the mother and Ted Nugent know where her journal are. She is pointing you guys to Ted Nugent. Okay. Ted Nugent. She said his webs go farther than any of you can imagine. And have you ever heard of his name coming up in any of this? I haven't personally. I had to look him up. Like, I know I've heard that name. Who the hell is Ted Nugent? He's a key player. She says that he doesn't have something to do with it, but everything to do with it. Okay. There is blood on his hands and on her mother. Okay. And the answers are in her journal. The journal is still in existence. And I believe to find those answers, you're going to find them through Ted Nugent and her mother. Ted Nugent may actually have her journal. That's kind of what I'm leaning to. It's a key thing. And that's why she's like, where's my journal? And I'm like, wait, I don't know. Answer that for me. Then she laughed. Yeah. Diary. Sorry. She calls it diary. Diary, Brittany's. Where is it? Question mark, question mark. And I was like, wait a minute. Aren't you supposed to tell me this? Like, where's your journal, Brittany? And she laughs. She's so drama. She's such an actress. She loves she loves that just on the edge of your seat sort of energy, like, suspense. That's what she loves, the suspense. And that's what she did to me in telling her story. She's like, where is my diary? I'm like, Brittany, I don't know. And then she goes, no, look to Ted Nugent. I'm like, oh, okay. She goes, there's answers in my diary. She knew, and she was writing it down. She was looking for somebody to talk to. But there's deep answers in this diary. There's stuff about Hollywood in this diary. And that's probably why they kept it and hid it. And why don't they destroy it? So I'm hearing that now. Why don't they destroy it? They use it kind of like in a way to keep things silent. They use it and put energy on it, like spells and things like that. They do this. This is like what the Illuminati does. This is what Hollywood does. And this is what Brittany is showing me that they do. They are very, very corrupt. Guys, I was so excited about this because she's excited. She's excited to be speaking her truth and finally have the avenue to express what has really happened to her. And then I keep hearing like all of these other people. River Phoenix was similar. I feel like he got killed by the same kind of people. Excuse me. And she keeps pointing to Ted Nugent. I don't know why I'm going to sneeze. I'm so sorry. And right away, she's like, Hollywood is corrupt. I'm like, yes, this we know. But she is like more than you know. Like, what a tangled web we weave. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Like, that is part of what she said. And so she is actually showing me more of a decline in Hollywood that there will be. There will be more of a decline in Hollywood. These things are going to get more and more exposed. And as the collective rises in awakening, they're going to stop funding these things. Okay. And so they're losing power as we speak. Like, it's a really big deal. There's more going on behind the scenes than you guys are aware of. And that's what Brittany is saying. And they are going to be exposing more and more and more. Drew Barrymore is a key player in that. Britney Spears was very similar in nature, where they were trying to keep her just as hush hush. It's a similar essence across the whole entire board of Hollywood. Okay, either you comply or you will die, and they're very well aware of this. And Brittany Murphy was also a victim of sexual abuse starting at about the age of 6. Okay. And her mother was well aware. So that's what they're showing me. Like, her mother was well aware, and Brittany was her key in getting in all of these things. And that's kind of what was going on here. Okay. And so the husband was kind of with similar kind of energy. He liked that kind of stuff. He liked the drugs kind of things. But there's still a little bit of heart in him. And that's why he started feeling guilty. He would have moments where he would like sober up and he would feel guilty. And so they snuffed him out. Okay. Because he was a liability. Besides, if he's gone, then the mother got the whole kit and caboodle, she says. Something about a dog. I don't know if Brittany had a dog and the mom kept a dog, but it's like she misses her dog. So I don't know if Brittany liked dogs. I don't know what that was about. It's just something she wanted to say. I'm saying if there's anything else she wants you guys to know, it's all about Ted Nugent. Okay, similar to Marilyn Monroe. Ted Nugent's got he's got dirty little webs across lots of things in Hollywood. Okay. He is not a so-called nice guy, and that is what she is showing me, and I am blasting his name because she's telling me to blast his name. Ted Nugent, Ted Nugent, Ted Nugent. He also may have her diary. She's like, where's my diary? Question mark, question mark. It has all the answers you need to know. Okay. And so she will do her best to protect that diary, and hopefully I can actually see people reading it at some point, so it may come out in the light eventually. Okay. Ted Nugent, he doesn't have something to do with it. He has everything to do with it. But it's kind of funny because these people think if they get other people to do their dirty work, then they're innocent, and they're not. And her mother was not good to her, did sleep with her husband, utilized all of that. She was already manipulating him before he killed Brittany. Okay. I do believe the mother lived with her. As far as I can see, like, she was always around her. She was always around her. She was always watching her, trying to dictate what she was doing, trying to make sure she was very careful with her words. And she would use her. And she would always tell Brittany it was for the best of the family. And again, Brittany knew weeks before. Okay. She was starting to try and speak out. And that's a lot what the diary says. And Ted Nugent has not something to do with it, but everything to do with it. I'm just repeating everything that's really important for her, for you guys to know. When she was drugged, it was methodical and slow. So was it a painful death? Yes and no, because it was. Her body started shutting down very slowly, and that's why these things started happening to her. She was always feeling very ill in the end, very weak, very tired. They wouldn't let her nurture herself, right? She couldn't eat. She was maybe getting broth every now and then. It was pretty sick. It was like she was being held captive. Okay, and that's what she's showing me. And oh, take these pills, you'll feel better. Take these pills, you'll feel better. And so did she suffer? Yes. And did she suffer at the same time? No, because she was constantly out of her mind, constantly being separated from her body. That's what they do. They will constantly keep people separated from their body and out of their mind so they can't make the right decisions. That's how they mess with your free will. And hers was messed with through and through. And she was also one of the rape victims. That's what she wants to talk about as well, from the time she was about 6 years old. And Ted Nugent is the main focus that she keeps pointing me to for all of this, but there's other players. So she says, oh, what a tangled web we weave. So imagine Hollywood that way. It's like this black tar and it just spans out its little webs everywhere and it affects things everywhere beyond the hub. And that's kind of how it is. It's like, I'm the leader and I'm going to affect you and affect you and affect you and affect you. And if you don't comply, you're going to die. That's like the unwritten rule of Hollywood, is if you don't comply, you very well know that you will die. Okay. Very few get to actually escape that vortex in a certain way, so to speak. But they pay a price in some way, either financially, there's some price they always have to pay. And she was trying to do something. Brittany wanted to change it. She didn't like it. She was a firecracker, I'm telling you. She was a force to be reckoned with. She loved laughing. She loved being a prankster. She loved scaring people. She loved being scared, right? This was her. She was just very dramatic. She was very theatrical from the time she was little. And that's what was utilized and stemmed from this whole world her mother created for her. It's not that Brittany didn't have the dream when she was little. She knew she was going to be big. It was charted in. She was actually meant to be something on some form of stage. That is just who it was, her lifetime to do so. And I'm getting chills as I say that. So part of hers was fulfilled and she wanted to do some exposing. She wanted to change some things. She wanted to be not corrupted like everybody else was and still be able to have her life and still be able to do what she needed to do. And this was she was trying to work around, what she was trying to plan around, and it's all in her diary. This is all in her diary. So look to Ted Nugent and her mother and you're going to find her diary. And Ted Nugent is a big key player. I cannot reiterate enough. Like, he is dirty, 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 dirty. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. And it goes all the way back to Marilyn Monroe, my friends. So, in essence, Brittany Murphy finally got to speak, her truth today. She finally, I move out of the way of her name here, she finally got to tell you all what happened to her. And there is her blood on somebody else's hands, okay? She did not accidentally die. It was not her time to go. She was snuffed out. She had big changes to make. And so in essence, she gets to do it this way and be safe in doing so. She is speaking very loudly that the key player in this, even if it wasn't his hand that put the pill down her throat, is Ted Nugent. Okay? He is dirty, 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 and he has a dirty tangled web in there, part of the Illuminati. It's all related, it's all intertwined, and it goes all the way to the White House from Hollywood. It's all corrupt. And this is what she is saying. Okay, so that is what happened to Brittany Murphy. She was absolutely murdered. She did not accidentally die. She didn't die from some sickness. She says she wouldn't have even been sick if they weren't starving her and slowly killing her. That's why she was getting sick. But she didn't know this. She couldn't put it all together. She knew something was wrong, but they were so convincing otherwise. Okay, and she trusted her husband more than she trusted her mom. But she kind of had a funny feeling about that too, because she saw certain situations where her mom was flirting with her husband, and he didn't shut her down. And it is so, she says, husband was corrupt, slept with mom after her death. So they became intimate. and in her bed as well. And that's what they're saying. So that's kind of how sick it was. Okay. The mother was very jealous and wanted to live vicariously through her, and in her sick mind, she did. Okay. Including giving her own daughter's body away for her own benefit. Like, it goes deep, deep, deep. Okay. And they try to do the same things to her they were doing to Brittany, they were doing to all these other people, where they control you, whatever they call that, conservatorship or something. It's almost like her mom wanted that on her. They wanted to control her so that they could profit off of her, and she was like their puppet. That's what they do. It's like, you're my puppet, and if you're not going to conform, you're going to die. Okay. These are the same ones, like Corey Haim. Corey Haim keeps coming up with this one too. Like, there's some, what a tangled web we weave. Okay. Corey Haim is the one coming up. He's the one coming up with this energy, not Feldman Haim. He knew. He tried to speak his mind. They made him very ill as well. Of course, they're all our own personal choices, he's saying too. You know, but what do? You're being battled from the evilest of evil. And they will take everything from you. But he had a similar thing. So many of them had similar stories. And that's what they're telling me. And this is the corrupt Hollywood in which you pay to entertain you. So maybe the next time you guys watch a movie about zombies or whatever it is you want to watch them about, you got to kind of go, what are they really doing here? Because in essence, you're watching something very dirty and low in vibration, mostly speaking. Not everything is that way, but most of it is. They pay you to watch demises, and so much is going on behind the scenes you don't even know. And we're like, ooh, entertainment, this is great. It's very sad. It's very corrupt. It's very sad. That's the best thing I can say. So much love to Brittany Murphy. I love her so much, and I wish she could still grace this world with her energy. If I could dance like her and look like her, I'd be doing her more justice, because I would be moving around like she is. She's very theatrical, and she loves the show. She loves to put on a show. She loves to make people smile and laugh, and she loved to dance around and sing and be crazy. This was her, and she wanted to go walk across every bridge, she says, that she could possibly explore and walk across, not drive across, but walk with her bare feet. She loved putting her feet on the earth, in the snow, in the sand, in the water, on bridges, anywhere she could. She wanted to put her bare feet there. That was her way of connecting to the world and taking in the energy that it had. Brittany was very spiritual. She was actually quite awake. She was more in touch with her soul than anybody else around her. She knew right from wrong. She didn't fit in from the get-go, but yet she was here to change something. And that's what she's going to do. So thank you, Brittany. So much love to you, and so much love to all of you. I hope you enjoyed the story of what happened to Brittany Murphy and allowed me to help free her soul from this earth, because whenever we are murdered and snuffed out, we leave essences of our soul behind. They become trapped in a way. And this is definitely a way to clear that out at the very least and make way for more exposures, is my hope. So, Ted Nugent, Dirty, Dirty Player. And oh, what a tangled web Hollywood weaves. Till next time, have a glorious Monday. Thanks for joining me on my Mystery Monday. Volume 10, I believe. I do believe this is Volume 10. Until next time, see you guys soon. From Juniper Bloom Mystique.